Hi, I'm Lulu and I'm a full-time fashion model. I've been modelling now for about 5 years and I started when I was about 13 years old. And to a lot of people, when I tell them that, they're quite surprised. But in reality, the fashion industry is made up of predominantly young women and men. I remember my first Paris Fashion Week actually, and it was my first long stint away from home, and I'd never really travelled for work before. And I went not knowing really who was going to be there, that I knew where I would be staying and how long I'd be there for. And I think that's probably something that a lot of young models can relate to, is that you go not really, you're in the unknown really, and you're away from home and you're away from those comforts of home, and you're thrown into this very competitive environment. You're going to castings every day where you can't help but really compare yourself to others, and you're not necessarily given a yes on the day, so you don't know if you're doing the right thing, and to be thrown into that competitive environment away from home and away from the support network of home, it can be really challenging. And it's something I struggled with at that point, because I did feel quite alone in that environment, and I think that a lot of other girls have too. But since meeting a lot of girls and talking with them, I've realised that everyone does go through the same thing, and it's so important to talk about how you're feeling. Otherwise, you can internalise these feelings, and without talking to anyone, you just feel more and more alone. So really making sure that you're talking to everyone around you. I remember before ever going to a Be Well Collective event, I found the whole concept of competition within the industry quite tough, and I found that I was delving into this whole idea that I was competing with other girls, and I'd sort of think myself down, and before I even got to a casting, I'd look at all these beautiful girls and think, and just compare myself to them, and I think that's a thing that a lot of girls battle with in the industry, is comparing themselves to others. And it's something that the Be Wells really helped me with, actually, is through meeting other girls and talking about these things with them. I realised that everyone goes through the same things, and something that the Be Well really advocates is embracing yourself for who you are and being the best you can be, but not trying to change yourself to be like anyone else. And ultimately, I've come to the realization now that I am being booked as a model because I'm not like anyone else. And I think that if other girls are able to really come to this conclusion as well, then we can break down the barriers that models need to compare themselves to others, and break down the stereotype that there's a lot of competition in the industry as well. So I remember the first Be Well Collective event I ever went to, and that was right before my first London Fashion Week ever, and I found that whole thought process really daunting. I'd never ever done a fashion week before. I'd really just been signed, and I was nervous about the whole thing. And I grew up outside of London, in the west of England, and was pretty much the only person I knew who was in the fashion industry. And one thing I really valued from going to this business breakfast, which is really what it was, a breakfast event, was that I met so many like-minded young girls in exactly the same boat as me, who I'd never had the chance to meet before. And I really valued that because it was such a sense of community. And the Be Well really made such a safe environment for all of us to feel like we could ask whatever we wanted to, bring up any issues we had completely without judgment, because you knew pretty much the rest of the room was probably thinking exactly the same thing as you. And I remember we would talk a lot about how to prioritize our nutrition, how to prioritize our sleep, meditation even, and exercise during Fashion Week, but also for the rest of our careers, to make sure that we have long and sustainable careers. And one thing I brought away from that, which I was quite surprised about, was I thought I'd be going and maybe be given a diet plan and a workout regime, but I was actually told to kind of distance the thought process of relating exercise with weight loss, and rather look at exercise as a way to relieve stress, or if I've been standing up in heels and I just want to move my body a bit from work, then think of it that way, which I think is a lot healthier way to look at it, rather than a way to lose weight or to get in shape. and meet the demands of the industry, rather do it for yourself. And I think that's one thing that the Be Well really promotes, and I think is such a healthy way to look at things, and I hadn't looked at it that way before.